So one of the first things I just scribbled, first of all, I scribble a lot. I just write down a lot of notes, a lot of thoughts always. It helps me kind of just visualize versus typing on the computer. So first thing I wrote down is not being scared to ask for a free rent. So I know there's been a lot of conversation about deferring rent. So that's just a common topic that, hey, I'm gonna contact my landlord and I'm gonna see hopefully deferring the rent. And I would not start with that, and I'll kind of walk you through the steps. What we've done, we actually contact our landlords asking for free rent rather than deferring. And the big part there was to really accurately paint a picture for your landlords so they understand how serious the situation is. And some might, and you'll be surprised how many landlords don't really know how your business is going to be affected, not just now, because right now we're closed again, maybe we successfully deferred rent, but what happens when we reopen? What kind of market are we going to come back to? How are you going to be able to service your members, your clients, when you have certain limitations when it comes to some of the guidelines that I'm sure we'll go over later. So first and foremost, again, we reached out to our landlords and we said, listen, as of now, we don't want to defer rent or sign any sort of agreements until we see a better picture in regards to whatever state or city you're in. So specifically for us, of course, we're in California. And, as at first we thought we're going to be open sometime April 1st, then it was April 15th. Now we're rolling into May 1, and most likely it's going to be May 15th, or who knows, maybe even June, right? So we don't know. So I think from our standpoint, I thought we don't want to commit to any sort of deferment until we have a better understanding of how serious the situation is and how specifically the boxing club, our business, is going to be affected. So hopefully that makes sense. So again, the first ask, once it comes down to it, I would ask for free rent. And here's the main reasoning for that, guys. If you're asking for rent deferment, the only way it's going to make sense if you guys put it at the end of your lease. So if you have a long-term lease, let's say you signed a 10-year lease, sure, you have enough time enough runway to pay that back at the end of the lease. Hopefully you negotiated that. But if you are deferring it by simply 12 months and your landlord is expecting you to pay that back, breaking it down into month-by-month payments is just going to be simply unrealistic. So you have to have a realistic conversation with your landlord, telling him that, hey, I'm not going to be able to hit the same revenue numbers or even better revenue numbers I've been hitting up until this point. So I think it's really important to explain that to your landlord. So what I would suggest, again, asking for free rent first and foremost. If that doesn't work and your landlord is absolutely saying there's no way on earth we're going to give you free rent, deferment is your second option. Deferment should happen, again, most of you should ask for deferring rent to the end of the lease term and repaying it all at once at the end of the lease term, or breaking it down on month by month, but at the very least asking for 24 months until your deferment starts. So hopefully that makes sense. You need that time for runway. And I wrote down a couple of notes. Putting together a good projection is going to be really important. So it's one thing just to ask your landlord for all these things, but you also have to kind of really break it down for your landlord and show them what kind of revenue you're expecting to come in, right? And so what the landlord would like to see, most likely, and I'm not a landlord, so I can't say, but most likely what I would imagine what they want to see is, okay, if I'm going to give these guys free rent or rent deferment, are they going to be able to survive? Are they going to be able to survive for the next 6 months? So when you're putting together projections for your business, which I highly recommend, guys, put together projections that are, of course, realistic, but to where they're not showing that you're not going to be successful, right? Because if you show in your projections that you're not going to be successful, chances are you're going to do quite the opposite, and the landlord is not going to be willing to work with you. So it's very important, again, put realistic projections together, send it to your landlord, and show them, listen, obviously we've been closed this time. I have zero revenue coming in, but for the next 6 months, most likely I'm going to be taking, you know, according to everything I've read and all the stats, they're saying 30 to 40% hit for fitness industry. I would imagine for us, for combat-based fitness, is going to be even higher, right? Because it's a very, very much close to face-to-face contact. So a lot of partner drills, very close contact. So it could be even higher. So you have to explain to your landlord, basically saying, you know, I need at the very least 6 months of half rent in order to give me enough runway to get back up to speed. And then at that point, I can get back to my regular monthly payments, regular scheduled payments. I think that's going to be really important, guys, for you to realize, and I'm sure you do, that we're not going to come back to the same economy, you know, that we had in January or even February. It's going to be really important for you guys to kind of really button down, obviously go over your financials, see where you can save, really kind of break it down on where there's some cost savings. Personally, we walked through all of our, anything from cable to internet to just any smallest fees. We're trying to cut that down. So we're calling any services that we have for our company, and we're cutting that down, negotiating for 12-month term, 6-month term. So I think that's really important. And obviously rent is your biggest expense. So you want to make sure that you negotiate it properly. So I guess the main thing that I would love for you guys to take out of this, that I think it helped us, is really not being afraid to ask for more, you know, and you can always have series of drops from free rent to deferred rent to maybe half rent. I think it's really important. You know, when it comes to negotiation also, one of the things I wrote down, find out if you guys have any local representation, tenant representation. So, and I bet you right now, if you contacted some of the tenant rep, basically commercial real estate guys, they will volunteer their time to help some of the small businesses to negotiate that with their landlords. So if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself, I can only imagine how many guys in commercial real estate, because there's nothing to do right now in commercial real estate, I'm sure they're going to be interested. There's going to be someone that is interested to help you guys save your business and negotiate it for you. I know a few guys here in San Diego that are great guys that I'm sure are going to be happy to help. But in your respective cities, states, I'm sure that you can find someone as well. So tenant rep, if you have that option, if you know someone, could be your member, guys. That's another thing I wrote down. It could be your member, never know. So I would send an email out to all of your members if you have it, you know, asking for if anyone has experience in commercial real estate, if they're a licensed broker, and if they can help you negotiate that rent down. I think that's going to be really, really helpful for you guys. If you are closer to the end of your lease term, so one of our locations, we're closer to the end of a lease term, it's a little bit tougher to negotiate, right? Because you're end of the lease, and it depends if your landlord still wants your business there or they are open to look for a different business. In current economy, I don't think they're going to be in smart position to look for a new tenant. So chances are they probably will negotiate with you. So if you're getting close to the end of your lease, so within a year term, I would definitely negotiate not only the free rent for the some of the remainder of your term, but also significantly discounted rent for the new lease term. So if you're in that position, you actually might be in a really good spot to negotiate a discounted rent for your facilities, for your studios. So that's as far as the rent goes. Michael, do you want me to kind of answer any questions on lease, rents, negotiation, anything?
Yeah, we could do that for each speaker. We can do a little Q&A. If anybody's got anything, you can unmute yourself and go ahead. Let me look here on the full screen.
Hello?
Yep.
Hi. My name is Ray Cruz. I'm North Jersey Muay Thai in New Jersey. We just got approved for that PPP loan, and they're saying that, you know, it has to be, money's got to be used obviously for payroll, utilities, and rent.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you deal with the rent portion of justifying or verifying that that's going to be paid if we're negotiating with the to not pay rent?
That's a great point. So we faced that exact situation, right? So we started, and which is why I'm happy we negotiated with our landlords. We started negotiations, but we have not signed any sort of lease amendments or deferments yet, because I was not sure if we're going to get a PPP, right? So we started negotiation before then. So if you're in a position to where you are applying for PPP or you got already accepted for PPP like us, we just got approved right before they ran out of money, and I think we're supposed to be funded this week, from my understanding. Then of course, by all means, you still want to use that PPP money for rents if up to acceptable amount, right? Because you have to still spend most of that PPP money on payroll, right? Or utilities. So you can still go ahead and do that. One option is to talk to the landlord and be honest with the landlord. Hey, I did apply for PPP, and we're going to go ahead and use some of those funds to put towards the rent, right? But it doesn't mean that we cannot still have a conversation about potential future rent deferment, right? Or potential future half rent or whatever it is that you can negotiate. Because at the end of the day, if you are very honest with the landlord and you say, listen, this is the situation. We have zero revenue coming in, and we all know that gym industry is really tough when it comes to the runway. Here's what I mean by that. If we open a restaurant, if you open a brand new restaurant, chances are that restaurant is going to be crushing it in first week, second week, third week. In fact, their first few months are going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing sales. For gym industry, it's completely opposite. You have to have enough runway to build the membership base in order for you then to basically build on that and have kind of a smooth sailing. So it's really important for you to explain to the landlord, listen, I need that time. I need that runway to build my membership base back. Because chances are, I don't know how big or small your guys' gyms or studios are, but even if they're small, chances are all of us are going to lose members, right? And for different factors, for economic factors, for we had quite a few cancellations or freezes just because people are scared. So you have to explain to your landlord, listen, most likely I'm going to take a hit on 20, 30, 40% membership, right? And I'll need time to build that back up. I cannot be open and all of a sudden I'm going to have line out the door, people trying to sign up. I need that time. I need that 6 months. And you need to help me basically get that runway going. So hopefully that answers, yeah. So I would probably, if you get PPP and you have those funds, go ahead and mention it to your landlord. Listen, I got the money and I can go ahead and cover 1 month that I previously missed, but let's go ahead and negotiate for some of the rent deferment for future months. So I would probably do it that way.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. I think Mr. Dean Lisi, you had raised your hand on there. Did you still have a question, sir? Mr. Lisi? No? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay. Anybody else have a question? All right. Thank you, Artem. That was really great, man. I appreciate it. All right, Mr. Dan, let me find you on here. All right.
All right, what's going on, guys? Looking through the room, I see a bunch of faces I know, a couple faces I don't. So just for a simple introduction, Dan LaSavage. I own Combat Corner Professional. I have a lot of insight because we deal with about 3,000 gyms throughout the country, as well as some internationally that are also dealing with the same thing right now. But what I wanted to, first say is, now is the time to put in all the extra work that you have time for because of what's going on, and really, really grind it out. I posted the other day, tough times don't last, tough people do, but truly what it is for us in business is tough times don't last, but smart businesses do. So to make smart decisions on, everything we're doing right now is super important. So I have some ideas on not only how to potentially generate some revenue, but specifically how to create that lead funnel once we exit, this shutdown, really. Because right now, as Artem was talking about, is how important it is to be able to get up and rolling with not only the people you've retained, but potential new people as soon as we're able to get back into business. And one way I think I know that works, because I just did it myself for my own business, is creating a press release and how to get free advertising from local media and news disguised as news. So basically, it's advertising that you're getting for free, but it's disguised as news. So really, I believe, with everyone going through the changes they have right now, it's pretty easy to create an emotional press release that lets your local media know what's specifically going on with your business, but also the changes that have happened due to the virus. One of the easiest ways to get attention and to get traction is to first give something away. And what easier to give away than your virtual training? And when I say virtual training, do not give away the virtual training that your students are paying for. Your students who are already paying for virtual training right now, who are helping support your gym, they're not going to be so happy if you're giving it all away for free. So continue to give them their training that's separate. And then what I would suggest is creating a 2-day-a-week, maybe free trial remote training session that is great and easy to promote from these news media sources to bring you in new potential people to kind of learn what you're about, see who you are, and creates a great funnel for once we get out of this thing. But that free trial is kind of a community outreach type thing, which the news is going to want. They want community impact. So if you're just like, we're having a really hard time and we need to make money, they're not gonna give you any attention. But if you tell them that you can contribute to the community, they're going to pick up your story. Basically, what do I got here? I'll talk about creating the press release at the end, but the idea is what's going to happen once this thing is picked up. For those who don't know, like I said, I'll get into the press release at the end, but it's just a short document that kind of states what's going on with your business, your club, your entity, whatever it is, and specifically a reason why other people would be interested in finding more information about that. So, basically what happens if the press release is picked up, the newspaper, print, other forms of news as far as TV and other things are going to pick that up. The big thing about creating your press release is always having it so that it touches on emotion. It can't be something that just kind of hits bullet points. You really have to touch on the emotion. So when you write this thing, you're going to want to write it in a way, and you don't have to be a great writer, but you're going to want to write it in a way that, someone who's a reporter can take it and use it kind of almost as is, because a lot of times these guys are lazy. The thing is the news right now, they need content more than ever. There's no sports. There's no events going on. Basically, there's nothing. So when you turn on the news, what is it? It's just a bunch of coverage of what's going on, with the economy, with stocks, with, obviously coronavirus itself, and all that stuff. So they're looking for other things to fill time with. In fact, our press release that got picked up last week got some newspaper attention, but also was on the local news for Fox this past weekend, and it aired 5 times yesterday, and it aired 2 times today, and they're 2-minute segments each. So we got basically almost 10 minutes of free advertising on local news, and it was about we're creating masks now. We've kind of retooled to do masks, and we sold about 1,000 masks in one day because of the local news covering this thing. So as far as what local news can do for you, this is your direct audience. I know you think it has to be very niche-based, but niche-based is local. So reaching the demographic within that local base, they could be within there, but also their friends, their family, or whoever else can let them know about this free program or anything that you're doing if it is picked up. So kind of all over the place. I don't know. I'm kind of blinded by my screen right now. So sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. But the first thing when creating a press release that you need to know is it can be short and sweet. It only needs to be 1 to 2 pages. You want to touch on emotion, like I said before, and have a good headline, something that talks about, specifically what it is. Like I just had an idea which says, you know, Heritage Muay Thai offering free virtual training during pandemic. Stay healthy, stay active, stay sane. Something like that. You fill it out and, you know, just have all your details inside of that. You're going to write it like the news reporter yourself. Create as much copy as you can, because I've had it where news media sources take exactly what I write and publish it without changing a word. So I create a pretty much an ad and they just publish it because, like I said, sometimes they're just lazy. Sometimes they just need to fill space. What you really want is an anchor or an editor or a journalist to be interested enough to contact you and interview you, potentially take it a step further and maybe do something else. You know, what could really happen is they could do a Zoom meeting. Like I did a Zoom meeting on the last news article that we did, which was yesterday. And then they're coming out on Thursday to do a live filming for 2 hours with 8 segments throughout all the morning broadcasts, where they're going to show them, one of the anchors is going to be here to like try sewing and doing all this other stuff. But this is the same thing where if yours is picked up for this free trial, maybe you could get the journalist or anchor to do your virtual training live on the news. So a lot of things like that are available. In the press release, obviously you want to identify who you are and what your business is, not just pertaining to what the release is about, but you know, a little bit of history, touch on who you are, that 2 to 3 sentence information about yourself and 2 to 3 sentence information about what identifies your business. Include support imagery and video if possible. In fact, the Zoom meeting I did yesterday, they used maybe about 10 seconds of video from the Zoom meeting, and the rest was our own B-roll and our own video that we had captured and sent to the news. And as well as the print and online publications used all our imagery. They did send a truck out here to do an outside view of our facility. But if you have this stuff, they're going to want to use your stuff because it makes it easy for them. And don't forget to include all of your contact information. Make it easy for them to get a hold of you. And after you send these out to your sources, you're going to want to follow up with them. And I'll talk about who you're supposed to send these things to as well. So you want to send them to all the local news outlets, which could be the newspaper, could be small publications that are in the little magazines that you see in and out of walking out of, you know, stores and various businesses that are local to you. As well as obviously TV. And you can also reach out to respected local blogs. And as an idea, like here in Milwaukee was reaching out to a blog called MKE Moms, which has a heavy group of moms that are worried about their kids and things like that. And this is a great source for also martial arts, but also the public school system, things like that. But journalists, editors, and anchors, and the way to build these lists is first is just look for lists. Like go to Google, search your city name, and look for media contact lists. It's easy as that, where you can find usually a bunch of them all in one list. Someone's already assembled for you. If you can't, go to the individual websites for the different platforms and search for the journalists and editors' email contacts. Then finally, as you know, after you scour those websites, build up your list. Create a nice subject for the email, have the press release included, have an idea of what the press release is about in the email. Don't include the whole press release in the copy of the email, just include a straight to the point message, and then have the press release attached. You should get some context out of that if you connect with the right people and you create a press release that touches on emotion, like I said. I will, anyone who wants it, just at the end of this, I'll get your email and I'll shoot you over an email that has some reference points from like HubSpot and a few other companies out there that have great articles on writing press releases. I'm by no means an expert on writing them or anything like that. I've done my own, but at the same time, I don't claim to be a specialist at it. I just know I've done them and they've worked. So considering I don't know much of anything when it comes to that shit and it worked, I know it can work for everybody else. But yeah, so I guess at this point, I'd like to see if anyone has any questions or ideas about this, and maybe I can answer it. And I'm sorry for being all over the place. I thought I was more prepared.
No, that's good. It's good. Let me check out the grid view here. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that, Daniel. So quick question. On masks, I did see it online and they look awesome, and it's great that you guys are doing that. I think that's fantastic. If some of the guidelines are going to be that, and again, it depends on the state and the city, but some guidelines are going to be that staff will have to wear masks. Is that something that you're potentially be willing to work with gyms on that to provide some good pricing, good options for them to buy in bulk?
Yeah, I mean, currently we already are doing that for gyms and right now. As far as training with them and stuff like that, it's gonna suck.
Yeah.
But I mean, if that's what they require, I mean, that's what they require. I do see that, you know, obviously with Muay Thai and kickboxing and boxing and stuff like that, it's nice because I think everyone's going to be able to be in that phase one where everyone's going to have that spacing of 6 feet and be able to work the bag or this or that and still be in the gym. The hard part is going to be for like the jiu-jitsu schools and stuff like that. They're kind of screwed. But obviously this group being Muay Thai focused, I think everyone's got that opportunity. As far as masks for staff and stuff, I believe that's going to be based on what the state requires. But I think the masks are, you go to other countries, not even just now, but like years previously, they wear masks in public all the time for these types of things. So, you know, being proactive, I don't see the harm in it at all. So.
Yeah. So from what we saw, I think for coaching staff, again, holding pads, mitts, it's going to be really tough to do that while, you know, wearing a mask. But we're potentially considering doing that just for the front desk management or the check-in staff. My understanding that California might roll out mandatory temperature checks for all businesses. So any person that is going to be taking those temperatures, I would imagine they would require a person to wear a mask. So it's good to know that you're already working with those businesses.
Yeah, so anyone who is interested in, we have our stock masks, but also we are doing customized ones with people's logos. I know there's a couple people in this group that have already ordered theirs. I know Vinny's been harassing me about them. I saw him in here. So, I got him. His are completed today. So,
yeah, we're definitely interested.
How much are the masks going for?
Well, it depends on quantity. Like our stock ones are going for, I believe, and it's based by bulk purchase. So if you're buying one, I think they're around like $15 or something like that. I haven't been on the site. I don't know what they set the price at recently. So I don't do sales anymore, so I don't really know the price. I just work with the production and all that stuff. So sorry about that. I'll go and check right now, actually. But does anyone have questions about the press release stuff? Because I think that's where you're going to get the most benefit out of. I mean, everyone can do masks and all that shit. And if you guys want to get them from me, you know, email me or whatever, or just go on the site. But I think that, you know, the press release stuff is something that everyone can benefit from, and everyone can execute it. Like tonight, you could sit down for a half an hour and write something up and proof it over. And even if you want, and you want someone to kind of check it over, feel free to carbon copy me on it or send it over to me, and I'll take a look at it. I mean, I'll look over whoever's I can.
Anybody else have anything for Mr. Dan? All right, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Paul Halme.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Crazy times. If you don't know me, my name is Paul Halme. I have a gym over here in Fort Worth, Texas, and then I do consulting for gyms with Alan Belcher and Amy Majors. In my previous life, I was a stockbroker, so I'm kind of the paranoid one that has been. I survived 2001. I got licensed as a stockbroker the summer of 2001. 9/11 happened. Half our industry got, you know, laid off. I survived that. 2008, I'd left the stock market or stockbroker job and basically opened my gym in 03, but in 08, everybody knows what happened in 08. Market tank, recession, horrible. Survived that. So I took those lessons and built out these plans because I never wanted to go through 2008 again. And here we are in 2020, and it's worse than it's just crazy. I gave I think Dan was out there. I did a keynote speech at our Combat Business Live, like planning and prepping people for the next recession and when something like this was going to happen. You know, so it's kind of creepy to go back and read it because it's like I feel like I don't like to post it because it's like an asshole, but it's like I'm just super paranoid about this stuff. So it's like I operate with Artem's one of my favorite words, runway. So it's like my gym always has 6 months expenses in it. My personal life has 6 months expenses in it. Then I do investing and other things like that. With that being said, it's too late to do that right now. So that's just going in the future. But for now, and someone brought it up earlier, but if you haven't yet, apply for the PPP and the EIDL. EIDL takes like 4 minutes to apply for. PPP is going to take you like 10 or 15 minutes to get your documents. A lot of the banks are absolute shit. And like I actually use Wells Fargo, and they're getting sued right now because they basically were playing favorites with the money. But if you have an application in and pending, I talked to my banker today, the next batch of money that's going to come through, it's also like $300 more billion. So it's like they're basically saying anybody that has an application in should get their money, but I don't trust Wells Fargo. And I had another client who got money through PayPal of all people, and I'll send the link to Chase and he can send it to you guys. PayPal got a large round of funding and they're doing PPP loans. So it's crazy. It took it was faster than Wells Fargo, and they approved me in less than 24 hours. But I'm approved waiting funding, and there's no funding right now. So just another option because I don't trust big banks anymore. I'm moving to a community bank after this. But when I was talking to Chase, it's like, I want to make sure, you guys knew, don't not do the loans, because most of it's forgivable. Then you can also do other things with capital, but doing the PPP and the EIDL and doing those things and getting ready is going to help you a lot. If you don't have, so say things like that don't work out, you don't have reserves, like what Artem said, man, first thing, talk to your landlord. It's like, as I already talked to mine, it's like, and I'm kind of playing the game because I don't know how long it's going to be. It's like, my gym's fine for 6 months, but after that, what the fuck happens now? So it's like, I already had the conversation like, hey, if this goes bad, can I downsize my gym? Could I move to one of the other spots? Could I get delayed rent? So we've had 3 or 4 conversations, but I've made it really cool. Like, hey, this is what could happen, but I want to keep open communication. And so my landlord, we get along really good. So that's like plan Z. But in the meantime, was having the money ready, things like that. Another thing, which I actually did in 2008 because I wasn't ready. I was like, fuck, what happened? I don't understand this. So in 2008, what I did, and this is like a last ditch thing that I tell people to do, but have a credit card that you like, that you use a credit. Use it for things for your business. Don't be like, oh, we're going to go shopping and they can't go anywhere right now. But use a credit card for your business. And then what you do is when things get better, the credit card companies come out with these crazy offers. It's like, hey, 12 months, 0% interest, 18 months, 2% interest. So it's like, if you're in a really bad situation and you're like, man, I don't know if I can float the things, start using credit, but then having the plan of rolling it into something else. Unless your credit's really bad, then it's going to be harder. Then I wouldn't do that because it's going to be hard to roll the money onto another card. But it gives you some runway where it's like, if you don't have anything and you're really struggling to get through things. And one thing we're having a lot of success with right now, which is crazy because anybody knows my business partner, Alan's batshit crazy when it comes to doing stuff. We've got guys right now that are selling online training, but you put your down payment or whatever towards your membership. So a full membership. We had a guy this weekend get a $1,500 PIF. I'm like, who PIFs over Zoom? So it's crazy. So it's doable. You can find the money. You can go out there and be like, hey, we're doing this. We're doing online training. I think it was Dan or Artem said, don't give it the training away to the prospect because your current members are going to get pissed when they find out because they're supporting you. So it's like have something where they can try it out, a free week trial, things like that. But you can start selling programs and pre-selling things. And another client we've got has been crushing it with pre-selling private lessons. He's like, man, I don't do private lessons, but I'm selling 2, 5, 10, and 20 packs, et cetera, support the gym. He's discounted it. And I forget where he's at right now, but he's made it enough to pay his rent next month off of, prepaid private lessons from clients. So there's a lot of options out there. And one thing is just, you got to stay positive. I know we're all getting super depressed and antsy and we're all losing our minds. It's like, I come to the gym and I get sad because I just want to teach and train and it's been rough, but it's like, stay positive. You're going to get through it. I got through 01, I got through 08, I'm going to get through 2020, but it's going to be a battle. But like Artem said too, really look at your finances. Like, okay, I've got these bills, I've got this, move this out, move that. When I wrote my newest book, I went through and it was this basic thing talking about call people up and be like, it's actually crazy. I want to see if it would work. And I was like, I called up my cable company. I'm like, hey, with this coronavirus thing, are there any other options for my plan? And she's like, well, you've been a customer for XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, and it made no sense. She's like, well, if you add stars to it, I can get your payment down $62 a month. I'm like, I don't watch stars, but okay, thank you. So these bigger companies have things. If you use the word coronavirus, or is that 2 words, I guess? If you use that, companies are more lenient because they're like, oh shit, let's see what we can do and work with that. So there's ways to find little gaps, but obviously $60 a month isn't going to help us if this goes to freaking July. But optimistic thinking because Texas, we're supposed to get some good news hopefully on Monday about phase 1 reopening. So we'll see. But just really think about the different things you do with money. Take the time, apply for EIDL, apply for PPP. A lot of people got, I would say only 20% of our clients have gotten funded. And then the rest are all just waiting. So it's insane. But I'm hoping with this next round of funding, all the applications that are in front are going to get run through before the next batch. So it's not something I'd wait on. I have to do it now. Hell, we got plenty of time to fill out 2 applications because, and then the guys who are thinking longer term with the EIDL stuff is probably the greatest loan opportunity you're ever going to get as a small business owner. Because anybody that knows, if you ever try to fill out an SBA loan, before this happened, it's a nightmare. Now it's like super easy. We had one client get approved, and they're basically taking it. His EIDL, they're taking 50% of what he made last year, and then it's a 30-year note at 3.45%. It's like, so if you are thinking like, I wouldn't say to take on extreme debt right now, but if you're like, man, I want to come out of this, I want to expand my gym or do something else, blah, 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 or, consolidate some of your gym's debt from this thing. I mean, 3 point whatever percent, that's unheard of. And it's SBA terms. So it's like, I think the first year, you don't make a payment the first year. So that's another thing that's pretty cool out of this. I always try to find the positives, because shit just wears me out if I think about the negatives too much. But, and then as you go forward, we're going to survive this, we're all going to get through this, but then it's a time to really take a hard look at your finances and be like, hey, I need to be doing this, this, and this. Like I teach all of our clients, it's like every gym should have a reserve account. You should have a personal reserve account and always be put a little bit of money away every month, every day. Shit you don't even realize. And at the end of the couple of years, you got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And you're like, oh, fuck, I'm okay. I can do this. Or if we're in a good economy, you're like, oh, I can get new mats, or I can get some new Thai pads from Dan. It's like, you got to have those options open. So that's one thing that surviving 2008, I feel really blessed about, is just, really being like super freaked out about money. So it's like, I've been dreading, I've been waiting for this for a while, but never a freaking pandemic. But I think, but recessions every 5 to 8 years. So we're on 12. So we've had a pretty good run. But whatever comes out of this, though, the businesses that pivot and come out of this are going to be crushing it, because a lot of the gyms that aren't run right, they're not going to be around, unfortunately. It's like they're not going to survive this. It's like, especially the ones that are sitting around and not doing anything. So by you guys getting on here with Chase and doing these things and trying to figure out what to do, this, you guys definitely are, out in front of this trying to get stuff done. So I know I kind of rambled there a little bit. Anybody have any questions or anything I can help with?
I have a question.
Yeah.
The PPP loan. So we applied, but we went through Wells Fargo. So
Okay.
we can actually apply more than one place?
Yes. Yeah, I applied. Yeah, that's my shitty bank too. So yeah, they're getting sued right now because supposedly Wells Fargo and Chase were basically billing out the money to their top clients. Like it's ridiculous what happened. So yeah, you can apply. So I applied there, and I applied with the new PayPal one. And then basically once you get the funding from one, you just contact the other one and say, hey, my loan's already in place, cancel it.
Okay.
Yeah, we had one guy, it was crazy. He did 3 banks, and it ended up getting the third bank who he didn't even have a relationship with. Actually, he's the only one that funded him. And he's got a really big gym. He got like $83K for his PPP. I was like, holy shit.
Man.
So there's real money out there. It's just they're making us jump through a bunch of hoops, and unfortunately, it's politics and all that BS. But yeah, I use Wells Fargo too, and it's like I'm changing when this is over.
Anybody else have a question for?
Yeah, I had a quick question just to confirm. If you don't have anybody on payroll, it's not even worth applying for the PPP loan. Isn't that accurate?
What business structure are you? Are you an LLC or a sole proprietorship?
I'm a sole proprietor.
Okay, cool. There's a different, and this is where everybody's getting kind of screwed. And they're really
I applied for EIDL.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. There's a separate thing when you do the PPP. They have a separate calculation for sole proprietors.
Even if you have no employees?
Yep.
Okay. So I should still apply then?
Yeah, you should still apply then, because with the PPP, it's like if you get it, it's good. If you don't, because it's all pretty much all forgivable. But they have a calculation, because one of my buddy down the street, he has a sole proprietorship, and they had to go through and calculate his based on sales and then net profit and loss. There's a weird calculation, but it's on their site. But yeah, you can do it as a sole proprietorship without employees.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, it's worth the time. Just do it and just see what happens. I mean, anybody who was around and had a gym in 2008, you remember we all got in 2008, we got like a, hey, thumbs up, good luck. We didn't get eight. There was nothing. I mean, we can still run our gyms. So this is actually cool that they're actually trying to help small businesses, although it's politics and they're screwing at most of us right now. But I have a feeling it's going to get better, because the backlash has been pretty bad. Now they're trying to get another $300 billion for small business.
Paul, I have a question for you. In regards to, so you applied for both PPP and disaster, yeah?
Yeah, yes, sir.
And what do you have a strategy for disaster? How are you going to use each fund? So I would imagine PPP, you're going to run payroll through and potential rents, utilities. Disaster, you're going to hold on to?
Yeah, you got my plan. So what I'm going to do, this is not financial advice. This is just me talking from experience and like that, is whatever they give me for an EIDL loan, I'm taking it all. It's
and I would imagine your process been similar to ours, that we don't even know the amount until we're contacted by what your company's basically approved for.
Correct. Yeah. I've had 2 clients get the letter back, and they got basically through an email, had the terms, offer sheet, everything, and they actually, one of them has signed it and gone to funding, but they're still waiting because the money's not there supposedly. But so yeah, it's cool. The numbers are crazy. It's like 50% of what you did in sales you can borrow up to. So it's nuts. So yeah, I'm going to take the max they'll give me, because it's like a 30-year. Obviously, I don't want to pay it off for 30 years. That would suck. But I mean, to get a business loan under 4%, and then you can deduct the interest on it. It's like, man, it's almost free money at that point. But I'm using mine for like expansion, investments with the gym, renovations, things like that. Nothing crazy. Because it's like, if you do take the money, don't go spend it on a car or something. Like, put it in to assets that are going to grow, because it's, we'll never see loans like that.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Is that kind of what you're doing, Artem?
Yeah, that's kind of our strategy as well. So, if we can secure the second loan, with disaster loan relief, I think that's going to be huge for us, because, we're shooting for a really high amount there. So probably the chances are that if we negotiate successfully with all landlords and come to terms and then secure PPP, then that's going straight to savings, and we're going to hold on to it and see. I think the big challenge for everyone right now, again, everyone talks about how tough it is now. What's tough is going to be once we're actually open and operating, expenses are trickling in, and how are we hitting the revenue? Are we hitting the revenue numbers to at least be breaking even? And that's what I'm worried about. Obviously, with 86 employees and big operation, that's a big hit for us. So definitely trying to plan ahead. 6 to 12 months, we're trying to project forward.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And I know it's hard to say stomach right now, but when you guys think about this is going to be when you survive this is going to be a blip on a timeline. It's like, you're looking at a stock graph of like a sell-off. You can look at the 2001, 2008. There's always a down, but then over the course of 10, 15 years, this is going to look like this if you have a long-term plan. Like Artem was saying, it's like, granted, you have to have the money to survive till next month, but try to think like in 6-month terms, 12-month terms, like, okay, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do these things. I'm going to run this sale. I'm going to run this. Another thing we've been telling clients to do too is this is like the first time you can run a re-grand opening sale, because you got to close. It's like, and you can make a big deal out of it. People always love that kind of stuff. It's like, there's going to be ways to get revenue and create things, and just keeping that mindset of like, man, I need to get through the next 12 months. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep going, and then just stay positive, because you can do this. It's like, we've been through it before, and it's like, it's going to happen again. Hopefully never a pandemic again, but there's always going to be recessions. But, take advantage of what you can, and just plan for what you can. Just think as far out as you can. And, because if you think of it day to day, it's crazy stressful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And kind of one comment on the prepaids, one thing we've learned, we've taken over some failed concepts before. The one thing to be very careful with prepaids is being mindful of your draft. Of course, I'm sure for majority of us, you have different payment structures, but I would imagine everyone has prepaid options. Trying to stay away from that option as much as you can, I think it's really important, because at some point you guys are going to hit a point of no return if all of a sudden more than 50% of your membership base is on prepaid memberships. It's going to be really tough for you to bounce back from that, and especially creating a prepaid culture of members only used to prepaying. I think it's really tough unless you're putting that money in the savings account, which I'm sure none of us are. It's really important on prepaids as well.
Yeah, it's going to be, once this thing opens up, how to get your receivables back up as fast as possible.
Yeah, and that's where creative marketing and some marketing ideas on how to build that draft for the boxing club specifically. What we're actually offering free memberships when people are going to be coming back, to just get some interest going, get some positive traction going, and kind of paying it forward in hopes that continue building that draft. I think that's really important for a lot of gyms.
For sure. Any other questions or anything?
All right, guys, I got a couple things that I'm going to just drop from my personal, and then we'll keep it open for you guys to talk on here. One of the things I've noticed, I actually looked at some of y'all that were in here just to do some research while y'all were talking, is that depending on how you're categorized on Google or Facebook, you're listed as temporary closed right now. and you need to go into your Google account and put that you're open right now, and you're doing, and it even has a thing on Facebook that you're doing online stuff on there, so that, you know, when people are looking, they show that you're open. You know, Google, of course, is going to put you're closed, but yeah, I noticed that a week ago that I was closed on Google and on Facebook, and then I went on there, and then Facebook actually has a thing on there that says you're doing online. So that's something very important, guys. I think you got to definitely get that going. Also, when it comes to grants, check your county. Harris County in Houston, we had a county grant. It got eaten up in 24 hours, of course, but I mean, you know, you gotta throw your hat in there. And then a big thing too with the online training, you guys that are doing the free stuff, you know, for like, you know, like a trial thing for a couple of days a week for people, hit up your Facebook neighborhood groups. You know, there's your county, your neighborhood, your city, you know, depending on what size you're in, and you know, let them know as well. I've been finding some decent success with that. And with that, does anybody have any more questions for Paul, Artem, and Dan?
Hey, Chase, I do.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little late to the party. Sorry, guys. Did we already touch on people doing Zoom meetings and having like super low attendance? I know Chase and you and I were texting earlier about that earlier today.
Yeah. Let's see. Who's got a bigger, better school than me? That Artem, how are you guys doing with Zoom, and how are you keeping guys engaged? And
yeah, it's a good topic. So first of all, we don't do it, and I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not a fan. I mean, it's one of those things. And here's the thing: for everyone, it's different. For every gym or size of a company, it's different. I'm not a fan of putting something together hokey and then slapping our brand on that, because generally I'd like for everything to be quality. So doing something super last minute is just doesn't, you know, is not something I'm a fan of. However, I did see a big success with a couple of gyms that I follow.
We got one here. Sean Madden wants, he can jump on the mic.
Yeah, and I think we have like Steel MMA. I think they're doing it for their members. It makes sense. It all depends on the size of your club, I feel like. So for us, we just do free lives, and it's a different purpose of that. Free lives that we're doing is more to get some interest from people that are potentially going to join our gym in future, to get them interested in our concept, in, you know, boxing, kickboxing, whatever it is, so that way by the time we do open, hey, I enjoyed their free workout, so I'm going to go ahead and check them out in person. So a little bit different angle versus
hey, Artem, how do you get it into those people's face? Like, how do you show them that we're doing this for free?
Well, we have a pretty decent social media kind of following, so we're doing it that way. But I would kind of backtrack a little bit. We've been notoriously like crazy about sending emails out to our membership base. So we have a lot of different newsletters, tips. We run our own blogs. I know, Mark, you're starting to get heavily involved in your own blogs as well. I think those are great ways to continue talking to your audience, right? So we do a lot of email updates, anything from how to take care of your health, right? How to support your immune system, tips for when you're freaking bored at home and what to do, books to read, movies to watch. So you can check out our blog section. It's called Exhale in the Boxing Club, and get some ideas. So very similar to PR. It's free, so you guys can create that relatively easy on your website and start putting out some content, especially if you're a good writer. If you're not, which I'm not, you know, I have one of the girls that works for us and does marketing for the Boxing Club. She's a great writer, so we come up with ideas, brainstorm together, and then she puts out some interesting blogs that, again, you're basically feeding your membership base, your family, if you will, some useful tips, useful information. I think they're going to appreciate that. And I think that's a big factor for what Paul was saying, which gyms are going to return and which ones are not. If you're going to be sitting on your butt, just kind of hands in the air and not attempting to do anything because we have this coronavirus thing and your gym is closed, so I'm not going to do anything, chances are you're not going to come back. You're going to have to get creative. You're going to have to bounce some ideas, and definitely reach out to all your staff. So we called individually each one of our members. So we're probably, I don't know, like around 2,800 members that we called between 3 clubs, and spoke with a lot of them. And they have questions in regards to, like, are we going to come back? How are we going to come back? Which classes are we going to be able to take? Are you guys going to have instructional classes, or it's going to be all fitness based? And now I can't even spar, and so on and so forth. So I think touching base with all your members, especially if you're running a smaller studio, you know, let's say if you have a couple of 100 members, that's a no-brainer. You should call all of them yourself personally and have that kind of conversation. Hey, how are you doing? How's your family? Are you staying healthy? Anything I can do to help you? I think that's really, really important.
All right, let me get a couple people in here real quick. Sean Madden and then Rudy Ott with some advice on Zoom classes. Sean?
Hey guys, thanks Michael. Most of you guys, I know most of you guys on here. If not, my name is Sean Madden. I'm from Easton Training Center out in Colorado. We have 7 locations kind of through the Denver area, Boulder, Denver, Centennial, kind of around that area. Artem brought up a ton of great points in that last, what he just said with the Zoom classes. And just right off the bat, I would say if you're going to kind of put them together quickly and half-ass it, it's definitely not worth it. And then tying into what he just said at the very end there, engagement, I think, is what it really, really comes down to. It's just connecting with your student body right now. I think everyone on this call knows that we can't really teach Muay Thai online like we can in our academies and in our gyms, right? And as long as you kind of let the students know that, and I think they're aware of that anyways, right? But it comes down to just connecting with the students as much as possible. So we are using our Zoom classes, 1, for engagement, staying connected with our members, checking in on our members, talking to our members, and then 2, giving them a workout as much as we can online. So we've had a good reception from that. We've been going about 3 weeks with our Zoom classes now, and I would say we average about 30 members per class. We have it split up for specific headquarter classes, and by that I mean just kind of overall Easton classes, and then each location has their own individual schedule as well that we've plugged into our software. We use MindBody Online. For our striking classes, we go 45-minute classes. We keep it pretty basic in terms of technique, right? We're not going to be teaching a ton of high-level stuff online classes. You know, and then what you're going to find out, and a lot of you guys know this from your Zoom classes already, is you're going to have people who have a partner training with their wife or their husband. You have someone who has a heavy bag. You have someone who has nothing, who has a super narrow hallway that they're in their apartment, right? You are going to need your top instructors, yourself or your best instructors teaching these classes, who can pivot and who can give a different modality for every single person in that class, right? They're going to have to come up with something for the shadow boxing, the pad work, the partner drilling, and the partner hitting the bag all at the same time, you know, and make sure everyone is getting something out of that class. The other big thing, you know, I think these are common that we all know already, but, you know, it's saying every single student on the call, saying their name once, twice, 3 times, giving them positive feedback, and just making sure that they know that they're connected to this community still. It's obviously it's not the same as being in the academy, but we've got a ton of just super positive feedback just on the students being able to see everyone. Something that's also been really successful for us is being on the call an extra 15 minutes after the class is finished. And all we're doing there is just checking in with the students, hanging out. We call it a Q&A, but more than anything, it's just engaging with the students. So I'm going to keep it short. I know Rudy wants to talk next, and I'm sure he's going to have some great ideas. I'm going to post a link in the chat, guys. We did a webinar from Easton last week specifically on these Zoom classes. We had some really good stuff on the tech support side of it, how to link your Zoom classes to your YouTube accounts so you can record these classes and then share them again to your private member groups. And then we have some suggestions for adult jiu-jitsu classes, the kids martial arts classes, and then the Muay Thai and the striking classes in general. So I'll post a link in the chat. You guys are welcome to watch that. And if you guys have any questions on that, please feel free to contact me. I'm an open book, and you guys can get a hold of me anytime. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Right on. Thank you, Sean. Rudy, still with us?
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Can you hear me? Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Artem. You guys gave a lot of helpful information. I think, again, just like Sean said, it's most important thing is to keep our members engaged right now, right? They're looking to find a happy place as well, right? So the more you can connect with them, the more you can offer them, the better. Now, I'm probably similar to Sean, where we have 5 locations in the Bay Area. We have a number of instructors. We're offering maybe 8 to 10 classes a day, but we have a big fitness program as well. So our numbers aren't as high. We're probably like 15 to 20 people per Zoom class, but that's because we offer a ton of classes. Now, one thing I would offer for the smaller gyms is reach out to friends. Get guest instructors to come on, and that can be a kind of a motivator for getting your members involved. I know when the SIP is lifted, some of the coaches in the Bay Area and I have discussed about doing free seminars for each other, going around the Bay, having Jungson come to my gym, me going to his gym, and vice versa, and a few other instructors. So that's some ideas that you can kick around as well. But while you're doing it, again, the most important thing is to stay engaged with them. So, send out emails, hit them up on Facebook and social media, get together. If you know someone that you think that might want to take the class, hit them up and tell them, hey, join into my class. One thing that we're also doing, and it's similar to what I think Artem brought up, is we're doing accountability calls where we have a Zoom, we have times sectioned off throughout the day to say, listen, if you need to talk to us for whatever reason, you need some motivation or you just need to talk to an instructor, we're going to be able to be available for you to help. And then on the selling point, again, don't give it out for free. We give our Saturday Zoom classes away for free as enticing, but our members are still paying us, so we want to give it to them. But we have sold probably 10 online memberships since this all started. Really cheap rates, but also what we're also doing is selling a membership once the gym is open and giving them free access to the Zoom. So I think everyone has given really good feedback today. If you can take even like 50% of what these guys said today, is going to help out a lot. So that's all I got, but thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you, Rudy. I got a message from someone, so you can throw this at any of the panel here. They asked, if this is going into May, how are you addressing payment with your members for May if they're not, let's say they start in May 15th is the day, or it's the whole month of May they're out. Are you guys still doing a reduced rate? Are you doing a full rate? Are you doing an online rate? What are you guys doing for that? We could start with, there we go. Paul or Artem, Rudy, Sean?
Yeah, one thing we're doing is basically, everybody has talked about reaching out to members, and then you get the ones that are like, hey, I'm going to support the gym no matter what, and you get the ones that are kind of on the fence. So we've been doing is being, hey, you know what? You're going to get credit on the back end of your membership, and then we're also giving out like free private lessons, free seminar tickets, anything we can do to offset the cost, because all the instructors have volunteered time to do privates, and then we're going to do small group seminars and like small group things. So we're giving out vouchers for stuff like that. And then unfortunately the ones that are like, no, I just need it frozen or canceled, we're just having to do that. But we're seeing good results with that, because people are like, hey, I'm paying to support the gym, but I'm going to get something in return. I'm not just paying for, you to sit around and, do other stuff. So that's been working really good for us. So I've liked that so far.
Sean?
Yeah, Paul, those are all great ideas. We've definitely discussed some of those at Easton too. One thing that we came up with in terms of members that are looking to either, first of all, if members call in to cancel, we first ask them if they can if they would prefer to suspend their membership first, so we don't have to cancel outright and then go through that process again. Secondly, if they want to suspend still, we've offered them a sliding scale of membership. So really, whatever they feel comfortable paying. If their membership is $180 a month, if they're comfortable paying half of that, maybe $75 a month, we've found a ton of members are willing to do that and are a lot more comfortable with that.
That's cool.
We've actually found now we've had a lot of members on that sliding scale. And since we've started the Zoom classes, we've had a good amount of members go back to resume paying their full membership, or they've increased their sliding scale membership since the Zoom classes started. So just one option that's working well for us. We're really, like I said, trying not to get them to cancel, ask them to suspend first. If they still want to do that, ask them if they'd be interested in paying half of that, or something like that, and kind of work from there. So we're giving them those options and being as flexible as possible. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Pam, you have a question for online membership?
Yeah, so we've got, if you start offering an online membership, what is everybody pricing it at compared to the regular membership? We still have our members paying the regular price. Is everybody reducing down the regular memberships, or how do you make it so it's fair if they see you're advertising online memberships for a lower rate than what they're paying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it depends a lot on the school. I'm like Artem, where it's like, I'm not reducing like things for people that aren't members or clients already. So it's like if they do sign up, it's like they're signing up for a future membership and they're getting the online stuff for free and playing that game. Because that's the last thing I want, with my gym, because a lot's going to depend, how long you've been around, things like that. But if you get that kind of thing, people see that, they're like, well, hey, I want the $20 a month program. And it's like, oh shit. So it's, that's what I've done. Obviously we're not signing up hardly anyone for online right now. We're just playing like the retention game right now at my gym and, preparing for the future.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Paul. So like for us, for the boxing club, again, we don't have that yet. Do I see us eventually actually rolling that out as an option ongoing basis? I think so. But again, not something that is going to be like piecemeal together, but actually offering a legit program to where you could do remote personal training, which I suggested to some of my friends that own studios to do remote personal training, as well as online memberships, but with the quality content. So if that's something you guys want to consider doing, I would suggest to save up and invest into quality videos, good production, good instructional programs or fitness programs, wherever it is. So that's kind of our thought. So right now it's an interesting time because it's a really good test for, does online training work? And I don't think there's a consensus on that yet. For instructional programs, without a doubt, to Sean's point, we can't teach Muay Thai or boxing online. Can it be a good supplement? So here's an example. If, let's say, the boxing club is not in Los Angeles, but there are some people that love of what we do. Would they be interested in joining into partial membership in LA because we're in San Diego and train online, but with the same coaches that they see on social media? So it's something cool. I think there's something there, and I would definitely consider, implementing that at the boxing club eventually. And I can see a lot of, UFC gyms, I don't know if you guys know, UFC gyms are doing that heavily right now. They're pushing that big time. And Title Boxing, I believe, is doing that as well. So there's going to be a big shift. Is it a fad? Maybe a little bit. I think, a Peloton effect is definitely, everyone is jumping on that. And I just don't see combat arts to predominantly live online. It's not going to happen. So it's a good thing because that means your guys' studios are always going to be popular because you can't train martial arts remotely.
All right. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Come forward. Do you have any questions?
I got something to add.
Yes. Let me
Hear me
see.
there?
Yes.
Got something to add just about the Zoom thing. I know Artem was mentioning it. My name is Alex Higley. If you don't know me, I have a gym in San Diego as well, in North County. And the one thing I was going to say is the whole idea of doing a Zoom class, I was pretty against doing for kind of the same reasons Artem mentioned. It just doesn't seem like the right way to really teach martial arts and to get the message across. However, I did decide, one of my other coaches, Aaron DiCario, he's on this chat as well. He actually really pushed for doing the Zoom class. And to be honest, I'm really happy that he did. We did our first one last week. We're going to be doing another one tomorrow and on Thursday. And the one thing I will say with doing the Zoom class is when your members come on and they see your face and Aaron was there as well. They see another coach in there and they get to see each other and have that interaction. I think that, especially with everything going on in the world, and especially a lot of people mention about how people are depressed and down and kind of we have these good and bad days, for our members to see our faces, I think is huge. And I think is very beneficial. So the one point I just want to mention is if you're on the fence about doing the Zoom class, I agree. I don't think necessarily that it's the best thing for martial arts and for teaching what we do, but for morale and for your members, I think it's definitely value in at least considering it if you're on the fence about doing it for that alone.
I'll add to that, Michael. So, Alex, good seeing you. So by any means, by the way, guys, I'm saying don't do it. I'm saying like the fact that you're doing it, and I saw Carl hopped on. I saw what Carl and Steel MMA are doing. I think it's really, really cool. I think he wrote out like a full-blown program, which I expected from Carl to do that. You know, I think it's great. Again, don't get me wrong. I think, especially in the meantime, we don't know how long we're going to be open or closed. I think in the meantime, I think it's a great thing to keep your customers engaged in addition to everything else that you're doing. I think the interesting question is that something that is going to stay? Is that something that you guys are interested in offering on an ongoing basis as additional stream of income, especially to supplement these tough times? What if you have potentially some people that are interested to train specifically with you, Alex, or with Carl that happen to be in other cities? It's interesting. It's definitely, this whole thing made us get creative and really come up with new different streams of revenue. So again, by all means, I'm in huge support of what you guys are doing.
And that's a great point, Artem. And just to reiterate, I actually, just so you know, I agree with you. I'm not even still the hugest fan of the Zoom class per se, but I think you make some great points about bringing people, you know, from out of state or for just different, you know, maybe within the state, like you mentioned, Los Angeles, people might be interested in that. And I think you're absolutely right about that. I think there definitely could be value there. And I think for some gyms, they may continue doing this. Personally, I don't know that I will, because I'm definitely looking forward to getting back to hands-on training with people. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'd be curious actually to hear from anyone else, based on what Artem was saying too, just what other people's thoughts are about if any other gym owners are thinking about continuing this potentially after gyms reopen.
I have. Look.
Yep. Mark?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that you know, I'm in San Francisco, so obviously, you know, the real estate here is just ridiculous. But one of the things that's awesome that we started to implement lately was the idea of a program. So rather than just getting on to your Zoom classes and just kind of running a class, we started to label them as in, hey, listen, in the next week, this week, or in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever you're gonna call it, we have them in 2-week sessions. You're gonna learn punches 1 through 8 and, you know, whatever, and defenses to those things. So make sure so this kind of, it goes into kind of keeping people engaged and then getting people from the outside back in, because you're going to need that later on. So we have we just labeled them programs. Listen, guys, just join us for the next 2 to 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever, real, you know, 4-week session to learn these things. And what that has done for us is 2 things. One, we don't know when they're going to lift this thing. Okay. We don't know when they're going to lift this thing. And we don't know, just like Artem was saying, we don't know if we want to even continue this format. And we don't want to be in that rabbit hole where we have to continue this format. So we label them in these increments. So to the customer, it's, or potential customer or current customer, it's like, okay, well, I better get on these next 4 weeks to learn this material, because when we get back to our academies, I'm going to need that material. Now, what that has spawned is some people get on to just buy 4 weeks, I just want the 2-week sessions, so that they know what they're getting. So all we did, and this is just for you guys, we label them programs. We have a program for a 4-week kettlebell program. We have a 4-week punches 1 through 8 and kicks 1 through 4 program. I don't know how everybody runs their academies, but as we all know, as business people, labels go a long way. Labels go a long way, and we might not think, you know, as owners and whatnot, and woke people, we might not do that, but people need that. Kids need labels. They need time. New customers, they want to know what they're getting into, because they might be jumping into a Zoom where they don't even know what they're doing yet. Well, guess what? We're going to start from the beginning. So those of you guys that were already are part of our program already, guess what? We're going to review these 1 through 8. Thank you for your support. For those of you guys that are getting on, you're going to learn this material. And if you're still new and you want to get on, hey, guess what? We're selling a 4-week package for $59.95, and that's all you're able to get. So that's, you know, just labeling a program, because we don't know if we want to continue the Zooms, right? So we can end it, or if it does lift on May 3rd or whatever, then the program continues right into our academy. So that's kind of the labeling that we kind of are doing right now. It helps everybody. It's not monkey business. It really helps the advanced member to keep up, and then it brings in new people because they have that label of where they're starting and then when they're finishing. So really, you know, small thing but huge, just to label these things programs at this point.
Thank you, Mark. I like it. Does anybody else have anything any questions?
Chase, Brandon here.
Yes. Hey, for everyone here, I go by Michael and Chase. So you ever hear me going by different names, and Corley and all kinds of names. But all right. Well,
President Corley.
Yeah. What's
Corley.
up, man?
I'll address you formally. Saudi Cop to everyone. Brandon Jones here. I just wanted to know, I jumped on a little later. Did we talk about any brand reopening plans? Did anybody have any thoughts on, you know, getting all of your members ready to get the whole community out at some point? I know that's hard for everybody to think about right now. But
I think Dan had mentioned something about doing like press releases and stuff like that for grand reopening, but nothing like in detail about, you know.
Michael, I threw a document up there. So I threw a document I found from Pennsylvania, their tourism. They kind of had a cool document that had a bunch of cool ideas and things in there. And I thought it'd be cool if we could rework that a little bit to maybe publish and help people with planning, and that had the press release and some other things in there. So, you know, if anybody, you guys, obviously I don't own a club. I own a tournament, USMTO, and I work with volunteer for the USMF as general secretary. But for you guys that own the clubs that have the members, I thought that would be huge for you all as part of your marketing as your comeback and stuff like that. So, you know.
Thank you. Well, did you put that in the event page or in here?
I put it, actually it's in our Slack, because I try to not publish anything obviously that's not approved until we discuss it.
I think we should probably do like a big link page for this. We'll put like some meeting notes and link to this video, and then we'll put a bunch of resources like that on there, because I know some other people have some documents they wanted to share as well.
And I just want to say thank everybody. This is the most awesome thing I've seen in a while. Everyone coming together to do this and sharing all your, you know, there's a huge amount of knowledge among this group. And so thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Much success. I know it's a struggle for everybody, and we're rooting for you guys. And obviously we had to push tournaments back, and, you know, we're all in this obviously together. So we all want to get back to the fight game. So thank you guys for being here.
Artem, you had something you were wanting to?
Yeah, you know, so I showed my scribbles earlier before, so I was just trying to write down any ideas. Again, that when I was going into this phone call, I tried to write down as much stuff as I can that we're personally implementing, or just ideas for smaller studios or different concepts. So I think the one thing that, we didn't quite touch on is, like, what is the plan for everyone to come back? If, let's say, hypothetically, every state, every city is different. but I would say safe bet for San Diego is probably May 15th. I did see that they just rolled out announcement today that they're gonna open parks and potentially beaches in the next few weeks. But let's say we are a month out, maybe a little bit under a month out from the opening. What would that mean for some of you guys to reopen? First of all, the whole concept of like the re-grand opening is a little bit worrisome based on what Newsom is saying and based on some of the rules and regulations. I don't think you guys are going to be able to throw a rager. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be very, very strict regulations with that, right? So it's a double-edged sword. So for us, for example, of course, we want to push hardcore, heavy, like, hey, come back in, let's get the revenue going, let's get the new leads going, let's try free classes, check out the boxing club and everything else. But at the same time, again, you guys have to keep in mind, you're going to have to follow certain rules and regulations and limit some of the classes. So keep that in mind, because some of the things that we bounced around, and we actually argued today with my director of operations, we like really got into it, because we were trying to figure out how far can we go down to spacing the bags, which means limiting our capacity for members, right? And he was all for it. And I'm thinking like, okay, if we're limiting capacity, we're ruining the experience for some of the new leads that are coming in, because we have a lot of people just rolling in, right? A lot of membership base. Down to, does that mean we have to scratch all instructional classes indefinitely until we get to phase 2 or phase 3? Does that mean that we scratch personal training? Am I going to be able to hold pads? Are my coaches going to be able to hold pads? So those are all good questions. But back to re-grand opening. I wrote down some ideas, guys, for you, something that we're most likely are going to do. Definitely, we're going to come up with some offers. So what the boxing club is most likely going to roll out is a complimentary first month, basically on us offer. Now, initially, it seems that it's counterintuitive because we're rolling out basically a zero revenue offer. But we're going to roll them into most likely a month-to-month or a 12-month membership, and again, with that effort to build the draft. In addition to that, we'll most likely have some sort of a prepaid option. But again, I would be very careful. Don't do crazy deals like, you know, your normal rate, half of your normal prepaid rate, plus some additional free months, plus personal training. I've seen some crazy offers, and it only will get you so far. So I think being very, very careful on how far you want to push your prepaid option, I think is really, really important. A big one for you guys and for us is reaching out to local businesses. So any local business, so whether you're in the shopping center or your friend owns a bar, your friend owns a restaurant, is joining efforts together, right? Everyone is in this suck at the same time. So joining efforts together to see if you guys can come up with a multi-business offer. And here's what I mean by that. Some sort of a heavy discount for your members at the restaurant, some sort of advertisement of your gym at the restaurant. In reverse, you're going to send your members to this restaurant, and you're going to encourage your members to specifically support that specific restaurant. So that's just one small example. It could be a bar, it could be a freaking tire shop, it doesn't matter. But joining efforts with other businesses that are going through it, I think this is by far the best time to do that. So that's something that we're definitely looking forward to joining efforts with some local businesses here in San Diego and seeing how we can help and support each other. That includes some of the marketing efforts. Guys, you can actually split marketing costs on some of the stuff if you can partner up with certain businesses, and whether it's flyers, billboards, or whatever you want, you can partner up with a number of businesses, and I bet you that will be absolutely down to split that cost with you. And again, come up with some creative marketing, creative messaging that businesses are coming together and in the effort to bounce back from this horrible thing. So that's just some of the ideas. One thing I wrote down, we don't really offer heavy kids program, but I do know quite a few of you guys do. And my understanding, kids are not coming back to school. So I think it would be a good idea for you guys to plan to some sort of a program, summer program for kids. I would imagine that's a no-brainer, especially if you're specializing in kids, training kids. Obviously, I would probably check into all of the rules, and, you know, especially in California, it's a freaking nightmare to do anything when it comes to HR. So I would double check. But if you can do some sort of a camp and have a prepaid option for that, I would imagine parents would gladly get rid of their kids and get some time to themselves. So if you're offering kids programs, I know a few of you guys specialize in that, and I'm sure you guys can give some good feedback on that. That's pretty much it. That's kind of the main things that I wrote down as far as bouncing back, giveaways, social media presence, anything and everything, sitting down with your staff, coming up with creative ideas. Again, big thing too is minimizing the expense. So if you know that some of your classes are underperforming, you're gonna have to make tough decisions and have conversations with your staff, cutting certain hours. I think, again, we're all in this suck, and I think majority of the people will understand the number one goal for every business owner is to make sure their brand, their thing survives, right? You're gonna have uncomfortable conversations. It's gonna suck. For a lot of you guys, those are your friends. I think it's gonna suck a lot, but you're gonna have to do it, again, in order for the greater good, to preserve your company, preserve your brand that I'm sure you guys worked really hard for. One more thing I'll touch before I go. I haven't heard from anyone that is really worried that they're not going to make it out of this. It would be interesting to, you can reach out to me directly if you genuinely think that you're probably not going to bounce back. Believe it or not, there's still options out there. So if you did not get your PPP loan, and you're probably not going to get it, let's say, and you cannot get disaster loan, if you're a new business, chances are you're not going to get either of those, right? What does that mean for you? And there's a number of things that you guys can do. The few things I'll touch on is, again, your membership base. Your members love you for a reason. And chances are some of them would love to be partners in your concept. So don't feel ashamed to send an email out to all of your members. Hey guys, we're probably going to close down, but you have a great opportunity to become a partner with me, and I'm going to limit this to this amount of partners, and this is how much money we need to raise, and here's a basic business plan that we're going to have, and send that out. So if it comes down to you closing doors or saving your business, take on more partners. Find out some people that are passionate about what you're doing, and invest. I think that's a big thing, because I talked to a few gym owners that basically kind of put their hands down, and they're like, dude, I did not get any loans. I'm done. This is it. And I said, no, you can bounce back. You can bounce back. There's ideas, creative ideas. Again, find money. You can find it. But the big thing too, guys, we're all fighters. A lot of us are fighters here. So you have to keep in mind, doesn't matter what regulations, doesn't matter, what obstacles we overcome. You have to fight through it, guys. Every day I go into the office, I don't even have to go into the office. I go into the office just because, and it's like that Diddy video where he's like, give me fucking something to do. I'm going to fucking do it. You kind of have to go with that mentality. You have to fight for it, whether it's, coming with creative ideas or hammering your landlords. Hey, you better freaking give me my free rent, because I'm not gonna open, So that's my 2 cents, guys.
Thank you, Artem, man. You got a lot of gold here tonight. I got one more I think might be towards you that you might be able to help some of the people with. We had a question earlier. How are you addressing your waivers? Did you just contact your insurance company that does your gym's insurance right away, or did you is that something you guys are dealing with? Like someone's worried about the risk of opening, with the, can I be held liable, all that kind of stuff with the,
Yeah, that's a great question. So guys,
I think that I heard somebody say that they're worried about people getting hurt while doing the Zoom classes at their house.
and that's actually a legitimate thing, right? Yeah. So guys, I've been sued 5 times, right?
Hey, see, I didn't know that when I picked you for this.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful, especially if you're in California. Very careful when it comes to HR. I can't tell you how bulletproof we are at this point, and even then, I lose sleep half the time because I don't know what's going to be next, right? So, couple of things. I got great feedback from a very well-known executive of a big company here in San Diego. And one of the things that they're doing, they're creating actually a liability form or a check-in form for their staff. right? So they're doing a check-in form for their staff. You most likely you will temp check everyone. So you're going to have to temperature check every single person that comes in daily, including your staff. And then for your staff specifically, you will most likely, I would check with an attorney at the very least. You would likely do a basic questionnaire. Hey, what is your temperature? Write it down. Do you have any symptoms? Mark check, yes or no, and so on and so forth. And you're going to have to do that daily, guys. It's a pain in the ass. But if you want to protect yourself, God forbid, if one of the members, your members, gets sick from one of the employees, you're going to have a whole world of a problem. And you know, I want you guys to all be safe. So protecting yourself with some basic liability forms like that is going to be something that we're definitely going to be doing. I don't know for how long, right? Maybe it's going to be until phase 2 or phase 3, whatever. But initially, we will temp check every single member and staff member, and staff member is going to have to check in a form daily, disclosing if they have any symptoms or not. Cool.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I think a lot of people, along with what you're talking about, are definitely going to just call your provider too. You know, see, they're going to probably offer some sort of advice on what they're going to be.
And I mean, if you call a qualified attorney, they're going to tell you don't open. But you know, it's like going to a doctor if you're a fighter, right? So we all know how that goes. So you know, you have to be. Listen, I can't give you advice. At the end of the day, it's your guys' business. You're going to have to make some tough choices. Some are going to be riskier than others. But at the end of the day, going through this, first of all, everyone is figuring this out at the same time, including government officials. So I think being rational and trying to protect yourself and your staff and your members is going to be important. But at the same time, again, you have a business to run, right? Otherwise, might as well not open. You know, don't even bother going through any steps, close doors, file bankruptcy. So I think it's really important. But you should, guys, create a list. I'm sure you guys have already. Create a list of all the steps that you're going to do to protect your members. Some of the steps that we went through today to protect our members, anything from no more glove rentals, no more equipment rentals. We're not going to be offering towels temporarily, right? So they're going to have to bring their own towels. We're going to be distancing the bags, right? Limiting locker room use, right? So we're going to probably put a cap on how many people we're going to have in the locker room. All of those things are most likely going to be laid out by the government as well. You know, extra sanitizing stations, extra cleaning check-ins, and so on and so forth. So I think I would highly recommend you guys create your own policy and procedure list specifically for your operations in this time. And if anything, blast that out to your members, let them know that you're taking all of the precautionary steps, and at the same time, post it all around the gym. I think it's going to be really important, and your new customers are going to appreciate it as well.
Thank you, Artem.
Yep.
Anybody else for Artem? I know he's been on.
I don't mind it. I enjoy it, man.
Oh, okay. I see some people on here I'd like to call on, if that's all right. I see some good people in here. I respect their opinion on some of the stuff and what they're doing. I see them online. Don't be upset if I call on you guys. Chris Saichan, could you? I know you're in a lot of different groups. You see a lot of things. I'll see if you had anything you'd like to drop in here.
Well, I guess one question I'm just kind of wondering about is what people's plans are going to be for reopening, especially if we're limited in numbers initially. Like I've got 500 members at my gym. We got 4 different training floors. I don't know what the rules are going to be when we first get to open again, but a number I'm hearing being thrown around is like 10-person classes. And I guess I'm struggling with how in the world am I going to do 10-person classes and keep a couple hundred members happy? I can't do that many classes a day.
Yeah.
Physically make it work.
I've personally been doing a block.
You have to do some kind of combination of like continue to do Zoom classes, also in-person classes, and limit how many times they can come per day. And I'm racking my brain over that. And I think it's going to be a huge mess. I'm going to be upsetting a lot of members that can't come in as much as they want to. I'm going to have to still do some online stuff? I'm kind of curious what people have for ideas for that.
I was thinking, I don't have 500 members. I have 160. I don't have that big of a gym, but my gym is packed at night. So I was thinking that it's going to be a lot of work, man, a lot of work. But I'm going to have a class every hour, you know? I mean, at the beginning of every hour for like 5 hours, you know? I mean, and then my morning classes, I'll have about 3 or 4 of those in a row. But then I'll be here all day, every day, you know? But I'm doing Zoom classes to keep members is what I'm doing, you know? I have a different situation than a lot of people have. I'm not going to get into it, but that was my idea. I don't know.
Chris, I think, I don't know who you use for your billing, but your software, but for me, I'm doing a Zen planner, and I also know my other friend's gym uses a Mind Body, and we're basically doing block of like 4 p.m. to 9 p.m., 2 instructors, 8 people, where it's got to be reserved, and it sets limits in the software. A lot of these softwares have already started doing it, where you can set the amount for how many times a week a certain member can come. So you could say 3 times a week, can't come more than twice in a day. I'm working on that with Zen Planner. It's been a long time setting it up, but that's what I'm trying to get ready to roll out for May 1st is what I'm hoping. But like Mark said, I'm about 160 as well. But even then, all of our classes are in that night patch. They're packed, 40, 50 people. So it's going to be a challenge. I'm hoping this block opens up, and then I'm going to kind of keep an open gym throughout the day on the same thing where they just reserve on their app and they come in. That's my thing that I'm working on right now.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you've ran the numbers, and I don't have 500 members either, but can you shorten classes? Can you make curriculum specific to have half-hour classes so it's specific to certain things they really need to work on for curriculum progression or whatnot, and get them in and out quick and easy? And maybe if you do have unlimited options on your memberships, maybe you limit that down to just twice a week and not 3 or 4 times a week if that's what you have there going on. Is that an option?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're talking about probably doing like 45-minute classes. That gives us time to kind of clean a bunch of stuff after class is done, clean the bags, clean the whatever kind of stuff we can do, maybe even mopping the floor or sanitizing the floor in between. One of the challenges we have is we got this long kind of narrow corridor to get into like our different rooms too. So that's going to kind of funnel everybody through this really tight hallway, which I think could also be kind of a not so good thing to do. So kind of maybe having our classes being staggered on different mats at different start times, and maybe like 45-minute sessions will help. And we can definitely limit how many classes they're coming in for each night. But still, we're going to have to I'm afraid we got to continue doing Zoom classes several times a day, plus several like in-person classes a day. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks if we first start out with a tight minimum, I guess, or a tight maximum of students.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I'm also wondering about how I'm going to do jiu-jitsu classes. Like, I'm almost better off just doing jiu-jitsu classes like we are doing right now with Zoom versus doing those. That's just a crazy thought that I have. I don't know.
Jiu-jitsu classes may even be more of a phase 3 thing too.
Yeah.
Since they are more person to person, they may not let jiu-jitsu classes even open up in phase 1. That may be an issue as well.
Artem, you have anything you've been dropping gold all night. You might have already something cracked up ready for this.
Man, it's just it's a sad topic. That's why I'm not commenting, because, we have freaking, probably like 150 plus people every night normally over that, over 1,300 members total. So at one of the locations especially. So we're trying to figure this out. And today, again, we had probably like a 3-hour, 4-hour brainstorming session with our staff, how we're going to do this. The one positive piece of information I guess I can share is that I don't think these regulations are going to stick, because it's there are big fitness groups that are already petitioning to change some of the guidelines for fitness, specifically in California. I would imagine that's going to be happening all over. But it was something interesting that I've learned specifically for San Diego County or any city. your local officials actually are going to be the ones pulling the strings. So if you have a number of gyms interested into putting together basically a petition to send to your local council member to request lifting some of the regulations, it's worth a shot. And I know it's been successful for some other industries. I think it's definitely worth a shot, especially if you can argue that you simply cannot operate profitably with these regulations, right? So again, basically saying, listen, I might as well not open. So I think it's going to change, guys, but I would still probably prepare for the worst, which is, Chris, what kind of you're mentioning. I believe you're from the East Coast. You're in the East Coast?
No, I'm in the Midwest.
Oh, Midwest. Yeah. So I'm not sure what rules or regulations they're going to have on your guys' side, but based off of federal, regulations, what they proposed, it creates definitely difficult challenges. And I was going to suggest potentially using outdoor space, but it doesn't sound like you have the ability to do that, right?
In a couple of months, we will.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Not yet.
So we're lucky in SoCal. So I think definitely for any gyms here in California, I would highly recommend using outdoor space. Run classes outside. Temporarily ask some of your higher level students to help you coach. Potentially, you could run a Zoom class simultaneously with your actual class. So that's an option. So you can kind of tag team that way. So that way you're not wasting your efforts or one or the other. See if you can come up with a creative option to combine both. And again, I'm really shooting this on the fly here. So I think there is no solid answer. Imagine a 40,000 square foot general fitness facility with 10,000 members, like 24-hour fitness. I have no idea how these guys are going to be trying to handle this.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. So I would imagine there's going to be some changes in regulations for specifically our industry.
No, that helps though. Thank you.
Yeah, that thing with the outdoor, I was basically for my kids' classes, I was setting up like a waiting area outside for the parents. I went on Facebook Marketplace and found picnic tables like $50 a pop, and just setting up like a whole outdoor area. So some of these kids, they come in with full family, like the tiny kids watching the other, so I got to try and get them outside somehow. That's what I'm going to try and plan to do. That's my little thing I'm going to try. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see.
So this is where those newsletters are very important. Again, I hope you guys all send those out. But once you create new rules and regulations for your gym, send that out ahead of time. So once you know the actual official opening date, I would email all of your members your new rules, basically policies and procedures for your specific facility. If you are a parent, you're going to have to wait outside. Try to limit how many parents and their family members are going to come to watch the kids, right? And write it all down. The proper protocol for using a weight room, if you have a weight room. Proper procedures for using a locker room. How many people you want to cap your locker room at. What's the proper etiquette on using bags. Encouraging all of your members to wipe all of the equipment down after the use. So put together a comprehensive list, like to obnoxious detail, and blast it out to your members. Your members are going to be your support system right now, believe it or not. You're not going to be able to do it yourself. You're going to have to really communicate well with your members that, hey, these are tough times. We're going to work through it, but you're going to have to work with it. So if you're used to doing a circuit routine on every piece of equipment and then not wipe anything down, that stops today. You're going to use one piece of equipment and then you're going to wipe it down and then you're going to go to the next one. You're not going to be doing circuit workouts with a bunch of your buddies and not put equipment away.
All right. Anybody else have anything they want to add here? Any questions, any comments?
I have a question. Has anybody on this call have you had the virus or have a student that had it, and how did it go for them?
I'm pretty sure I had it about 3 weeks ago. I talked to a doctor and he said, yeah, you had everything that they say, all the symptoms. I just felt sick. I had like the flu. I felt like I had the flu. And then for 2 days, it was horrible. I couldn't I had pains in my back. I couldn't do this because I hurt too bad. And I mean, everybody can do that. I had 104 temperature and I couldn't breathe very well for 2 days. And luckily I drank NyQuil because it's acetaminophen and not ibuprofen. And I just drank the NyQuil and to kill the fever. And then after 2 days it broke and I had a dry cough for about a week and body aches. I mean, I understand how it could kill people. It was hard. It was bad, but I thought it was the flu and then it broke and it was done.
Teacher, you're a beast. Nothing can stop you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I just wanted to add, hi, this is Crystal. Sorry, I'm on a walk with my dog.
Hey, Crystal.
I just wanted to add, I'm in Los Angeles. But two things, just listening to what everyone's saying, it might be worth putting in those protocols in Smart Waiver. That's what we use. It's digital and you can change it. It might be worth having each member read it and sign it so that way we can't get sued at some point in the future. The other thing I wanted to comment, I didn't see who was speaking and potentially continuing Zoom classes even after we resume for a few reasons. But another reason might be because some of our members might be scared to come back. So I think it'll be worth it just for that demographic, those who have either kids at home still or have a weakened immune system. It may be beneficial to keep it even for a short period while we went through the full phases. That's it. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
I got one more thing to add too. Artem mentioned too earlier, which I thought was a great point about possibly recording your classes too. And maybe one thing to consider also would be if you're limiting your classes, as we talked about, Chris, you were mentioning you got 500 students and how you're going to be doing stuff. I was thinking one idea too, depending if you have a good following on something like Facebook, maybe consider filming all of your classes and just live streaming them onto Facebook too. So that way people who aren't physically in the class, maybe if they have a bag at home or in their shadow boxing, because one thing I always have to remind myself is that some of this stuff, after years of doing it, we get in our own habits of doing stuff. And I'll work with members at the gym and they just need a coach to say, hey, here's the combo I want you to throw. Like they just get in their own heads about just doing the same combinations over and over again. And they really value having a coach or having someone say, okay, now we're switching to this. Okay, now add a round kick, now add your T, whatever it may be. So even if they can't be in class in person, maybe consider, and it's one thing, as I'm saying, and I might do, is just live stream on Facebook every class that I do. So at least people can go back and access that. And it just adds one more thing, kind of add value to that membership. Because like you said, I'm thinking about the same thing is when the day one when we open, it's not going to be all the members back. You know, people are going to be, there are going to be those members who are just jonesing to get back in, who are excited to get back and start hitting the bags. And they're going to be the ones who are very hesitant about being in those close distances. One thing I do, kind of off topic, I won't go too much into it, but maybe some of you know Rock Steady Boxing for people with Parkinson's disease. I do that at my gym, and it's become a huge part of my gym, where I have people with Parkinson's disease in my gym, it's age 60 to 88. And my group, one of the groups I do is like 24 people. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that class whenever we open back up with 24 people with compromised immune systems. So I'm starting to think about spacing those classes out, adding more classes and dividing up that group. And also things like maybe just filming it and having that be one additional option for people where they can access those live videos, obviously when they're going on or at a later time, just to give people something to do, to have more workouts to have access to as well.
Right on, right on. See, a lot of people are. Does anybody have anything else? We'll take maybe one more here.
I got a question. A
Yes,
little bit
sir.
sidetracked though. We got during all this, our insurance dropped us. Does anybody have an insurance company we can call?
I would say like 80% of the people in here have the same insurance. I'd be wondering which one you had on there.
I had Markel.
Okay.
We use Francis Dean.
Yeah, I would say everyone. I have Francis Dean. It's through everyone's Francis and Dean, I think, on here. A lot of it, but I got mine through KarateInsurance.com, and it was pretty cheap. It was about $1,200, I think, for the year is what mine is.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
I was gonna add one thing here before I cut out too. Is I'm in marketing for a living, and you know one of the main draws, especially if you're giving intellectual property away through your videos online, you always want to do that lead magnet thing at the end, which is you got to let people know that there's more secret sauce than what they just saw. And so that way, to get them back, obviously private trainings, I think are going to take another level of, importance after this kind of blows over. So I would probably recommend that people really push the private very heavily at the end of all of their videos that they're doing. That would just be my 2 cents there.
Right on. I'm going to let the man dropping all the gold tonight close us out. Artem. You got anything else before we cut it?
The only thing I'll add, this is probably like my 10th phone call with like different groups, and I had similar ones with different business owners. And the one thing I'll say, just as words of encouragement, that again, everyone is in this, and I can tell you how many stories I've heard from restaurateurs to hotel owners, and everyone is taking a huge hit. The one thing in common with all of them that I took from them is perseverance, and again, this is a good crew we're talking to. You guys all know about perseverance better than anyone, because if you're coaching martial arts or boxing or whatever it is, you guys know all about that. So just have to push through, guys. You're just going to have to push through the suck, get creative, talk to as many people possible from different industries, bounce different ideas off of each other. Again, I'm thankful, Michael, for you inviting me and kind of sharing just a little bit of at least of the stuff that we're trying to do. And by any means, no experts. We're trying to figure this freaking thing out. So I hope, some of you guys can take some of that information and run with it. Again, thank you guys all. I think this is amazing. Muay Thai community is strong for a reason. It's built on really, really strong values. So thank you guys all. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. I want to close it out here. I'm going to put a link up. I'm going to probably do it on our the event page on Facebook. And those of you that don't have Facebook, we'll put it on our main website with all the links and resources, because I heard a lot of things that made me ring some bells in my head. We have a member of part of USMF that wrote out actual letters for you to send to your representatives and congressmen and all that kind of stuff. It's already pre-made. You basically, all you do is insert your gym, you insert what you do in your community, and boom, send it off. I sent mine off today, and they have to respond to you. So it's pretty cool. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank Artem, thank Dan, thank Paul. Thank you all for sharing. It was a great experience. Thank you all. And we'll have this uploaded on the social media as well. Thank you
for putting it together. Great job.
Thank you.